Let's go.
My mama love. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Wife would be so pissed at me, I just turn that shit on. I'd be like, she'd be like, Todd, what's wrong with you? I'd be like, I never know when this may go away. I may not have heat tomorrow. I mean, or AC or something tomorrow. You know what I mean? I got to be ready. All right. All right. All right. There we go, KP. All right, KP, where you at? Can you wave? Okay. All right. Yeah, a lot of things. Can you look on Facebook for me? What's happening? Can you look on Facebook for me real quick? See how that look is. I love you. Shit. Start us off. I'm just walking. Okay. So we're live.
Welcome to Make It Make Sense Jackson. I am your host, Kia Berry, aka KP, aka Young Man, aka Mr. Jackson. And we are back on this fine Thursday, along with my co-host.
Tariq Abdul Tawab.
This hot Thursday, actually.
And I was looking, I forgot my AK. I had a new AKA. I was about to get my AK, Tariq Abdul Tawab AKA, but I forgot my AK. So, and you know, anytime I do an AKA, it's just generally talking about something that's happened. That's all. But yeah, it was rainy before the hot came. So somewhere something's growing.
A lot of flooding going on in Jackson, man.
Yeah.
It's hot and it's flooding. Ain't that some?
Yeah.
I know. What's the money called? The emergency funds for this crowd.
Emergency? No, not for us at least.
Nah,
not for us.
For folks, not for the main Jackson only.
Okay.
I got you.
Yeah, but no. Welcome back. While my young man helps me get technologically right, as you know, I may be able to speak these words smoothly along with him, but when it comes to technology, sometimes that 20-year plus gap different, it helps to have a young man with you, right?
You want to use them?
Yeah. But yeah, this is day what? You know, we always tell them what day of the week we're in. What's today? Thursday? So we're in day 4.
Day 4 of 5 week. 5 day a week.
5 day a week. That's right. And it's been a very busy week. I mean, if you're new with us, you know, this is a job outside of the job, as it should be. And then everybody's working a job outside of the job. When you're in a community where you don't have the basic necessities that community should have, and not to mention the other things that we're dealing with, we're all working double time. The only question is, at what point do we work smarter, not harder, and start working together so that all of these deficiencies we each experience in our individual lives, we start pooling our efforts together to make sure that those deficiencies are erased for all of us, or at least lessened. You know, sometimes 10 of us together, maybe we don't have enough money to buy steak and potatoes, but one of us alone doesn't even have enough money to buy steak or potatoes, excuse me. Now 10 of us alone can buy a bag of potatoes and we're eating mashed potatoes. So, you know, there's always a plus to working together, and there's always a silver lining. And I know we're the masters of I know we're the masters of laying out what went wrong in the city and in other places, right? In the hopes of being able to work towards a better future. But understand that once you understand what's wrong, you're all right.
Yeah, if you don't understand what happened, these people talking about, like how John Horn made his speech, was it 2 days ago?
Got to break that down, yes. When he went in front of the airport, and all of a sudden it was free to land John Horn. You know, it's amazing.
A lot of people, like we said before, a lot of people think that's just that Malcolm X. Oh yeah, he for the people. Nah, bro. That's the play on words that y'all gotta understand. You gotta understand what he done for the people. So you understand what he's saying.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's when John Horn and when you have Jackson Rising, we're going to talk about them as well as this week unfolds, because you got to understand where your money's going. That's something I think through the last, 8 to 12 years is something that this city made very clear. We're going to find this money, right?
Yeah.
But I know that Jackson Rising was going to participate in Chief Brackney's salary. And then at the time, they weren't registered as a nonprofit. We're looking deeper into that now. So, any thoughts you have on that, feel free to jump on there. You can call in on our platform if you are new to our Thursdays and Fridays and you've been with us just Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on 90.1. We Believe Digital Network is a very high-tech digital network. So you have the option of jumping in and chatting right on your side, and we can see it right in front of us here, just like TNT or any other platform would be able to see. If you want to call in, you can also dial in. That's a double option platform here, unlike the radio, which has its great benefits. But here you have the option of either calling in like you would on the radio, or right in front of us, there's a screen, and we don't have to bend down, we don't have to look, we don't have to check. We can see everything that's happening right there in front of us. So definitely jump in, and we want to hear what you have to say as well, because it's been a crazy week, hasn't it been, young man?
Yeah, very crazy.
And maybe we want to recap with them. Just it doesn't have to be in order. Just what this week has been like. What's it look like?
What should we start out with first?
I mean, the beginning of the week, Monday, we had to do. Well, let's again. Every time we talk to them, and let me start. And I promised that we would do this, KP, so that we stay true. Like the axis of evil. We have, the axis of evil, where we have 5 places that unfortunately we're being pursued as a city. We're being hurted, and people are trying to hurt us more. So that axis of evil, unfortunately, started in most cases from the state power structure, the state of Mississippi. So you'll see folks like Trey Lamar, Shonda Yates. Those are people from the political side that are moving an agenda through that tries to drain Jackson of its I wouldn't say ownership, but I would say autonomy, right? That tries to drain Jackson of its autonomy. This isn't a bill that Yates nor Lamar, these bills they put forth aren't bills to try to stop crime for certain areas or try to heighten the life quality of people. They're bills that try to take away Jackson's power to control its own day-to-day resources. And so that's where these 5 axes of evils come from, right? And if you go back to the White Citizens Council and we go a little prior to that, we'll understand the roots of this axis to evil analogy that we're putting up. But the 5 areas that we're under attack right now, and it has put Jackson in a state of emergency, are water. Right now, we've gone from having autonomy. Let's just slow it down. Let's just be real. We've gone from being over our own water with a black mayor, with an all black, mostly black city council, right? To and having nearly $1 billion to fix it with a third-party manager, to our mayor, still a black mayor, telling us that our best bet, with $1 billion, nearly $850 million still left over, or $750 million still left over, our mayor said our best bet was to give up to the Water Authority because they'll take the $200 million in debt. Ooh, so you still have the income that's coming in on the water, and you have $750 million sitting there. If anything, why don't you talk to the people that are hurting and that don't have clean water before you give the water away? And then you say the reason we should give our water away is because we're going to be able to shift $200 million in debt. So we're going to give away that $750 million essentially, plus all of the income from it with the new increase the city council didn't stop, plus the water system itself as data centers loom over us using 35 million gallons of water per day at minimums with large ones. This is what we're doing. And that's what this common mayor told us to do. Then he said we'll have control over it, and then what happened? No control. His friends across the aisle playing a slick one on John. Now we have no control over our water. Airport, right now we are mired. Day 4, if I'm correct, right, young man? Of the airport, we're going to talk about that because that's when the young man was saying that all of a sudden John Horn and Vernon Hartley are turning into Malcolm X and Maya Angelou. That's Hartley. So, you see them in court have the nerve to try to, and it's just, let's keep going. Let's talk about the 5 axes. Let's not get deep in anything. So you got your airport, you got your schools. We've had 17 schools shut down, and you're talking about a huge problem with what's happening with old buildings and former PWIs in schools like Redeemer Church that want to be PWIs, and that's not an attack. They're the ones that voluntarily entered into MAIS, the Mississippi Association of Independent Schools, that was initially created as a school system to avoid segregation, right? So Redeemer School proactively reached out to MAIS and said, we don't want to be with these Negroes in JPS. Yeah, we can have our own school because it's private, right? We can have our own campus, our own safety, our own beauty. But it's not the same if we're not playing with the kids in Madison and, in the PWIs, the real one. This is what Redeemer said. Right on the north side. This is what they said. It's not. We want to be part of MAIS. You know, we're Pillow Academy, where they didn't let the black sportscaster come that was working with Jackson Academy. They wouldn't let him come there. These are the type of schools that are in this atmosphere. Jackson Academy, they got kicked out of the church land when they were trying to go to school there because they had a rule not letting black people come in when the floods came 30, 40, 50 years ago. Pillow Academy. So you have a lot of schools in there with nasty passes. And I love schools trying to do better now. We'll wait for the proof on that. But nasty passes, right? Someone gets out of jail after molesting for 17 times. They got 30 years. After them 30 years, you don't welcome them back into the daycare. You was a child molester. After 30 years, you paid your debt to society. We witnessed Mississippi on paper. We have rights that we didn't have before. And I know we can exercise those rights. I'm not a fool. But that doesn't mean we're not going to watch you when it comes to certain things. So you saw the school system shut down, 17 schools. You saw the violence that ensued from that. Now, at that time, under the previous administration, as under other administrations to a degree, when these schools broke down, you started seeing the strong arms of Mississippi. Look them up if you don't know who they are. Follow this point, but you need to know who they are. You saw the Operation Good. Look up groups stopping shooting from happening in violence. It wasn't the police. It wasn't the law. Look up groups that came after them, like Living with Purpose. Look at the move they're making and the young people and what they were doing before they're involved with these groups. Look up those groups and understand that before, when these schools were getting pushed together, when violence was falling out, you had people and other street interventors and violence interrupters, that came from these same communities. They once caused harm in. The strong arm model. Rebuilding the communities we once caused harm in. But these are models that were stopping violence and turning our communities into our own business improvement district. Because John Horn's giving it all to Fondren, Belhaven, Midtown, North Jackson, aka LaFleur. We build our own paradise. The only way that we're able to do that is by that coming together. So you have people in our community where we think we have pluses. I'm sure people look on the Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board and say, well, we've got an African-American woman on there and a young African-American man. The African-American woman, Candace Robbins from Redeemer Church. But we've got someone that's looking out for the black kids in Jackson. That's the natural feel you get, especially from outside of Mississippi. That's progress. Look at Ross Adams over there. Man, he's going to be like, can you please leave me alone? You got Ross Adams with WAPT. You got a black news file. Looks like progress if you're coming from New York City. It looks like progress. Till you find out Ross ain't been letting black stories, or somehow, whether it's Ross or WAPT, stories where black folks say this is our side and we want it told, a lot of them haven't gotten out. And that's by the people that I gave Ross the interview, is what they tell us, right? And it never aired. We put it on our webpage. We just didn't have a lot of white folks that said that. And we have everyone on our page. This was something that came from that. So, okay, it looks like one thing. You got Candace Robbins on it. She went to HBCU. This looks like we're in there. Then you start watching the meetings and realize that she's simply co-signing for the Republican far right. And that's where the rest of the white women on there pushing her from. That's where their family, that's where their bases are from, the far right Republican. You see her simply there to co-sign. Listen, this is not a shot. We watched 60 meetings probably. And I'm exaggerating a bit, but a lot of meetings. Waiting just to see her stance. And what we want to see, sister, is what you're stepping up on, right? When do you stand? Are you stepping up and saying that when it comes to, are you at least there for black charter schools, and making sure that they're getting a fair shake? And we're not seeing any evidence outside of the Redeemer School. We saw no evidence. So stop saying having a black person in that position gives us a plus sign. Exactly. That's what we're saying, because I'm long-winded. Stop saying that but simply having a black person in that position gives us a plus up. If we've got Ross Adams that only wants to run what he or WAPT wants to run when it comes to the black experience. And these were going back to Henry Kursky times and Harvey Johnson times, right? Then you've got Candace Robbins that's on the Mississippi Charter Authorizer, appointed by Governor Tate. So you would think progress from the outside. Oh, they pushed someone like Governor Tate to hire somebody from the black community. Well, it's complicated, American. It's complicated. Because if you go look at Redeemer Church, where Candace is at and where she follows, Grant Callen? Yeah. Her ruling elder at the church. He's the founder and leader of what is it?
Mississippi.
Empower Mississippi. Empower Mississippi. If you don't know who that is, and look it up and just go look at where he's a sweetheart of Super Talk and of Jackson Jambalaya, that should say enough. The Jackson Jambalaya part, of course. But he has been one of the biggest proponents of vouchers, of school choice vouchers, to the point that it has been hurtful to public school systems, and there is no line on which people that are for the public school system have not said that he's been hurtful. And that's who's a ruling elder at a school that all of a sudden begs to be part of Mississippi Association of Independent Schools. Make it make sense, Jackson. Did we really have representation? Or did Grant Callen and Redeemer Church have representation to become part of the private white institution structure? That's what we run into. So that's your school system. It's not over, unfortunately. Now you got, and I'll save that for last. What did I miss before data centers? Because we've got to end with that. We said water. We said schools. Fire department. We've got a fire department in crisis. This is a state of emergency. Every day we're going to talk about it. When former fire chiefs are coming on discussing it, and when we see this spilling out in the community and in deaths and in property damage, you got a fire department whose ISO or insurance rating has plummeted. And we don't know if that's going to stop. You've got a captain that's been promoted 4 spots up to fire chief with no experience, refused to take the fire chief test when the former chief asked him to. So we don't know what experience book-wise is even going into this, but we know the man was only over 2 to 3 people before, so experience-wise, there's no way he's able to provide the same thing that an equivalent chief would provide 4 spots ahead of him. Our insurance rates plummeted. Former Chief Willie Owens came on the show and told us it would plummet, and it did. Told us Mayor Horn asked former Fire Chief Willie Owens, one of his former 100 black men, we call them 99 black young men now, because they got to work their way back up here in Jackson, right? Based off of what they've done now. It doesn't matter what you were formed as. When you got this much hurt sitting in your organization, meaning you got this many people in your organization leading us into a burning building. You got crew that marching on with signs, and it was him or Gibbs, that said, give up our water, give up our water. We want the water authority. Now everybody's disappearing now that we have no power, and there's nothing, no more talk about our $200 million debt getting paid. Where are them cardboard signs? Because we still have ours, right? Yeah. Because we marched before. Proud of our sign. What do people call us? Poverty pimps and free to land people and all types of insults. As you said, don't tread on these people's rights. Whether it's Poor People's Campaign, whether it's People's Assembly, whether it's Mississippi Rapid Response, whether it's NAACP, whether it's Mississippi Moves, whether it's One Voice, it didn't matter what, whether it's Southern Poverty Leadership, it doesn't matter who it was. You talked about all those groups when they would march, right? And then when it came down to giving our water system over to some white Republicans, this leadership, Horn, crewed up Gibbs, they marched around with signs that said, give them the water. Them same cardboard signs they clowned us for when we said, stop, HB 1020 is creating a new city within a city. And what do we have now? 2 cities, one Jackson. When we scream HB 1020 is electing new judges in a place where we democratically elected judges. Oh, they're protesting too much. These folks allowed it. I'm talking about our senators, our legislators, our mayor, our current mayor. Let every law pass. They passed the law that said no protesting. Yet you need a permit now. Your actual leaders sat quiet. They did nothing. I don't care if they said what they did nothing. They put up no fight. They made no threats. We're not protesting anyways. Somebody should have lied. Give the whoever that wasn't John's administration that side. Can we go retroactively and get charges pressed on him for marching around City Hall with that sign? Because I thought you were supposed to have a permit before you put up a sign and march around. We only have bad law, and Horn's administration is in there marching around City Hall with signs talking about something. Yeah, these good white men are water. Just don't make any sense. And what else was he saying? Don't look at who the water authority is. We don't have any representation. Now, before we wind down everything else, before we get to data centers, we talked about our school system, our fire department, our water authority, our airport, which again, big four testimonies happening there. We'll touch on that. Our airport and our data centers. That's number 5. So this is a state of emergency. And number 5 are data centers. Maybe a month ago, Council President Brian, what types of games you're playing? How's it going down? Grizel came out and said we need a moratorium. Right at that time. And 183 day moratorium that will just sustain any data center activity until we as a community understand what's happening. Young man, a lot of people, a lot of organizations, right, came out and said, stop this. He was like, right? what type of games are playing, how's it going down in Brazil, right? He comes out with a resolution from city council. We don't need violence, and he knows very well there's no violence. We've been over that over and over again. Ross Adams, this is how we keep shouting him out. We're not journalists. He does an interview where we clear up any violence talks. He decides not to air it. Thankfully, our cameras were rolling, right? We've got a real shindig going here, even though they think we're just men with phones. So we had a whole camera rolling, and then the whole community got to see anyways that there was no violence discussed. But this is what Brian Grizzell did after he said, pointed at LaShia Brown Thomas during a city council hearing, close to tears, and said, the whole community sees who did it. Yeah, we see it. As soon as we did something, you told us that someone hit you. We came to fight for you, and he told the teacher on us. He's like, look, they're fighting. Brian, you told us to come get it. They was bothering you. That's why I called him. What type of games are being played? Like, how's it going now? I looked at the lines at the store. A lot of people say not money, but I feel like as the revenue was shrinking in Jackson, they trying to scramble for everything they can reach to get some money to put back in the city. But when money gets, like for the example, like what we're talking about, when we do put a deficit in Jackson, that money is going to be pulled to city of Jackson, and that budget is going to be also controlled by city council. And I'm pretty sure that when they don't, that's part of it. Pay out to right. The money is pulled. So yeah, absolutely. And a lot of that money, it's like it's over. Well, I think it's like over, could be like over 60 days in Mississippi. It's in Jackson. They're talking six just in Jackson alone. Just in Jackson alone. So that's a big problem, and a lot of that money. When you talk about money coming back into some of these places, a lot of that money is going to flow into communities that are not used to having that money. But it does flow to those communities. They're going to be very blinded as to what's happening in the atmosphere, with the environment, the side effects of these data centers. Because once the data centers are in, the money is going to be flushed, and you have to imagine and try to understand what could have taken. That's right. This is right. You know, people say this is wrong. What did it take for LaShia Brown Thomas to remove a moratorium in 2026? Along with Kevin Parkinson, she knew it herself. She's starting to introduce a movement. You got to put your name behind something. You're known as the person that said it's okay for us to smack children in the face. But we don't remember this. So someone had to introduce it. LaShia Brown Thomas introduced it. Now, what could have made her? Let's really sit on this, America. Especially now you missed my brother in California. I know you don't do as much Facebook, but I hope you're watching this. Our brothers over there in Canada, in New Jersey. What would make a black city council person in the South with the regulations, the energy regulations, the federal oversight, everything is at the least. Even if you had Public Service Commission watching, it's not the same Public Service Commission oversight. Residents may get in a different state. But this SB 2001 tied Public Service Commission's hands so they can't even provide the oversight. So you have to understand LaShia Brown Thomas, Vernon Hartley, and the rest of them that didn't know focus on history and our community. They knew SB 2001 was passed because Lawrence signed it, their mayor. Again, SB 2001 said the PSC don't have the same oversight. So LaShia and Vernon, you all knew that we had no protection once the data centers got in. The most protection you want to talk about is some regulations. So what happens when you violate regulations? What happens to the big companies when they violate regulations? Generally, they have to do what? No, they have to pay a fine. They have to pay a fine. So that's the violation of regulations, is that you pay a fine. So what did City Council say in that article that just came out? They said, we're not moving forward without regulations. Now, what did we say as a community? We don't want data centers. On the 27th of May, you showed up in fullness, and you said we do not want data centers. We want that moratorium back, or we want there to be no data centers at all, right? So what the City Council says, well, we're going to have 3 quick meetings. They had a meeting about the Forest Avenue rezoning. The City Council called one at Jackson State. And they had another one on the 22nd. This is Monday. 3 very quick meetings. Why did they have those quick meetings, do we believe? We believe they had those quick meetings because it says if you're going to rezone towards something like a data center, you have to have 3 to 5 public meetings where the public gets to discuss their opinion. Did any of them ever say that to you? The sneakiness, if that's it. I know this. The sneakiness. meaning they presented to you first off the one that JXN was convincing you to accept it and put it there. This is what they never told you. This is a mandatory planning meeting that the city council is supposed to hold before we rezone. But guess what? On the back end, they're going to say, well, we told them it was not big councils to come out, but you had people that might have taken their last vacation day. And they know that this was their last chance to speak. You had people that might have known they had to use their last $100 to pay for a babysitter. If they knew this was their last, they had babies. Data centers had the power to kill people. Tort reform that they stay aside means the most you can get is $500,000 if they do something right to your child. You think people would take a day off work to come? But you didn't tell them that. I know you know that something going wrong with it. I'm sorry, that was fly attack me. You know, let it fly in. I can't be mad at that. We believe he came in with us. He was outside looking for a win, but I think he's coming on fire.
That's what I was saying. It's like,
yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's SB 2001. Hand in hand, SB 2001, which is a law. We're going to pull that up and read it to you. And this was a law, SB 2001, which gave data centers the right, like ABO Creighton was doing great. I don't have to tell you where I'm putting the data center, which gave them the right to have these tax exemptions, to have these power exemptions. They gave them the right to not have PSC involved in strict our protection. And you'll be amazed that when you hear all of your politicians from the African American representation standpoint that signed it, we'll pull it up at a certain point. But you'll be surprised when you see who signed it. It was every single politician that we elected. And we'll pull it up and share with you, but every single politician signed it at once the tort reform happened, which now says that really the tort reform limited damages that can come from this. The 500,000, listen to me, 500,000, that's if you prove that this came from that. Look at the setup that our leaders have was into. At least the rest in peace, Dr. King recognized and tried to change direction. You can honor a man of that nature. Our leaders are putting on tinted black sunglasses and moving through the fire. Getting burned all the way out. Remember when Edmund Jones said, "Go out and forget that." And all black leaders said, "By the way, he said black people just are lazy." That's the problem. They don't. I mean, they're shit. They don't like to pay their bills. He didn't say the lazy part. Firm what we took that as a community, and our leaders just sat there and there. Horn, Stokes, Hartley, they just sat there and looked down, yes, sir. And that's what happened because everything after that was yes, sir. Give us your water, all of it, yes, sir. This isn't making fun of someone, this is what our leaders did. And now they expect the people to pretend they didn't do it and give them some type of respect when we have nothing left. Nothing has come to West or South Jackson yet at all from the Jackson Rising is supposed to be jumping out there and helping, and every time they talk about it, it amazes me. Because they never, I just talked to the gentleman from Operation Good, and you look up Operation Good, violence at the top of the city, and what their background looks like, right? So these are folks that you can call if you see two young men arguing, a rifle comes out, and there's a chance that their knowledge of their own community can help them defuse the situation. You know when the police come, someone's getting shot. Then bullets are still flying in the neighborhood. You still have just IRS and getting hit when the police come. Capital coming, that chance increases because they're shooting innocent people. That's on you, Capital, for doing that. Jalen Lewis, rest in peace. Plenty of others you shot. They were doing nothing. So now the police come, my neighborhood doesn't get safer. We can already see them chasing people through high-speed crashes. My neighborhood doesn't become safer in that instance at all. So it's just we're not going to dip off into it. I want to read the name. I read the name because we need to understand this isn't being done from outside the house. Yes, the rebels, the proud knights are standing outside of the city of Jackson right now, fully footed on horses, using the same tactics that Ashley Foote used when he called the new police chief to charge him overqualified to get a mere $150,000. Now, whether or not she should get that, or whether or not Jackson has to give it to her, two different things. Whether she's qualified, coming from Charlottesville, Virginia, being on a police force of that magnitude and doing the things she had to do to get rid of a racist police force, which we wonder what's waiting down. We know eventually she wants to do something. But to say she doesn't deserve $130,000, $150,000, sales reps that make, supervisors that make $150,000 with benefits because she's too charming. This is what Ashley Foote said. Old Foote, I don't know if he's from the Foote plantations. There were a lot of Foote plantations. He's a Confederate sympathizer, and everyone in his family, for the most part, went to West Point, which is where he went. But old folks say, let me read you my bag of racial anecdotes. Back in the day, if you had the nerve to leave Mississippi and get educated and came back with that education, you certainly weren't going to be a teacher or a pharmacist with your black self here in Mississippi. Just because New York or Chicago let you get a degree. I know you didn't think that. And furthermore, now you let us know that you're an uppity nigger. Uppity niggers when they would say that. Now that we know you're an uppity nigger, now we're going to make sure when you finally get broken, you go through all parts of Mississippi, hoping someone will give you a job as a pharmacist or teacher, and you realize it's not going to happen. Now you come back and say, you know what, boss, let me just go ahead and get a job in this factory. Oh no, you're overqualified for that, Sally. And this is what Ashley Foote said. That doesn't come from anywhere in Mississippi except a racial bag full of ways to hold that. I'd rather you joke about my lips on my nose than do that, because that's a reference to when you starved us based on being too uppity or based on having the audacity of going out and doing for ourselves. So we're start connecting this on the second half of how a lot of these steps led to a lot of disaster. We're coming together to fight back on the second half of this. Make it make sense, Jackson. Appreciate the time. We good. Long we good. We got it. Let's see, we good. You think? All right. So, yeah, just slow down. Mine too. So we can pull back and touch on this, right? And then we can go, where's your mind at? But I don't want you to lose where we at. We can go into that first. I know we're going to and then talking a little bit about, that would naturally merge into the data centers. That's what I'm saying. What was this signal? I forwarded it. What else was it? I think that's something. Oh, yeah. See? That's what Council saying. Boy, I got this just like the car, remember? Across the street. It took me a minute. It's just like the car. Man, we got a good team. I'm going to work out with it. Just walk back in and just, you got this, man. Welcome back to Mrs. Jackson. I am your co-host. I was texting. Welcome back. Back to the twice. One for you, one for me. My mind's all over the place. Welcome back to Mrs. Jackson. Black Commercial Break. I am your co-host, Keon Perry. Story Abdul Tawab. And
As we discussed before the commercial break, well, during the commercial break, we was going to talk about, no, it was before the commercial break, we was going to discuss about how we was going to mention some people that voted for SB 2001 in the 2024 legislation.
Remember, that's the debilitating legislation that caused a lot of what we're experiencing with data centers to happen, giving them the tax breaks, the power allotments, the secrecy, where they didn't have to share certain things with the community, as well as the lack of PSC oversight, Public Service Commission oversight, that makes it very hard for us to have any protections with the incoming data centers.
The name's being John Barnett, J-U-A-N, Barnett, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, no, we don't. You know who he is. In this case, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't have voted for Mr. Barnett.
Bradford Blackman, Gary Brownfield, Albert Butler, Hilton Fraser.
Coming after that, Cindy I. Smith, one that you just striking out now. And this is no really.
Eric Simmons,
Never said no disappointed.
Joseph Thomas, Rod Hickman, and the finale, the ultimate, John Horn.
We knew it was going to be
You know, he was going to be in that Mr. Honey Black Man.
Yeah, we know.
Reginald Jackson, David Jordan, Sonny Norwood, Sarita.
Sonny's on his team too. Sonny's on his team too. Good God. Man, where y'all go? If y'all locked up together, y'all used to run numbers or something. My goodness. Growing up kids, John, Kane, the whole man, what was it? Kane, the boss of it all.
Bring the boss out.
Well, let's not finish Sarita.
Sarita Simmons is going to turn forward.
Yeah, Sarita Simmons. Yeah, this is crazy. It's like a whole game, man. Just a whole game. But yes, let's stay on track. Let's stay on task. And that actually, these are the folks that voted for SB 2001. You know, you got to sit on that for a moment because you have to realize that all in the name of this is some crackhead stuff. It's some crackhead stuff. All in the name of some investment we hope we'll get, but have absolutely no guarantee we're going to get. And I bet you this economic investment, so you got Hartley's who got to test us. You know, we always take the right road, you know. So you got Hartley, you got Adventures, you got Stokes, you got Brazil, you got Lashia, you got Amanda. Lashia just leaned back like, tell me what you got for me, because she's the one that removed the moratorium. So she's looking forward to this conversation. Kevin's like, good job, Lashia. I'm sorry. You know, we just go watch the meetings. We don't do underhanded shots. We talk about what actually happens. If you see someone whispering at work too much, and it's two people sitting, you're going to be like, oh, why y'all whispering every day? Every time Lashia is in there, and it seems to be any action, Lashia Brown Thomas says Kevin Parkinson whispering there. I mean, what are y'all talking? You're whispering, Virgin and whispering banks here like that. Nowhere near that amount of time. Her girls weren't falling in the backspace. Come here, Banks. Lean over. Breathe down for the Newport's first now. That wasn't happening. So what is this relationship that we're seeing where you can't speak without Kevin telling you what to say? That's how it seems to us. We don't have to do this stupid stuff like pretend it's not what it is. Go talk to a politician that has to do that or a newspaper person. We just get to look like you see her whispering every time. I see it. It happened. I ain't gonna see this was happening. They need to stop whispering to her. Kevin. And why are you whispering to her? Just explain to us what we see it now. We see it now. The same way we see them restricting access. We talk about this. Look at the effort these folks are putting into stopping the public voice from coming out about big data centers. Let's look at that. Let's take a moment and we'll cut this up and we'll redo it. This is the moment if you're looking at it. This is the moment if you want to talk about data centers. Don't go on vacation. Don't go talk to your family here. Don't go talk to your friends here about what's happening. This is the moment if you don't want data centers in Jackson, Mississippi, you need to be 100%. Because they're removing everything. It's like a bit more sort of perspective. More sort of it's bigger than what it is. It's more sort of just hold on, man. Hold on. I mean, I don't understand what exactly y'all make yourselves look more guilty by not wanting more. So what y'all really hiding from us? That's the real question. This is when the 16-year-old boyfriend goes from begging for sex, and now the after-school Degrassi High special get a little more sinister. I mean, we're going to talk radio. You're up to 70s, 80s days. You don't talk about the music shifts because now the boyfriend's trying to take it, and that's where we're at, Jackson. You got to understand that if you don't understand where you're at, then once that violation happens, It's not something you can bounce back from. And it can't. Something, God forbid, starts spreading to our community. And all of a sudden you realize, man, I didn't listen to them freelancing, man. Okay, when you now want to sue them for what they did to me. I elected judges. No, you didn't. I mean, freelance people tell me about HB 1020. There was getting judges that they wanted it in. You said we needed new judges. Jackson's messed up, fell right into their trap. Well, that's who some of these cases are going to go to. And God forbid it goes to Louisiana, East Louisiana. What you understand what we're saying? You want to fix. You allow them and pay no attention to it. Yeah, I understand that. As it always says. So you for HB 1020 when we first the Capitol Police, when they expanded, when they put their own judges in there, built up a whole new Capitol Police station right in the middle of downtown, and used our resources to do it. If we're not getting our money, if we're not getting our regular funds, and they're getting funds from the state, then that's our funds. Period. Then John Horn talks bad about CCID. Why he's a senator. The moment he gets in office, he takes $2 million from them for his fire department. Where did that money go, by the way? Like, we don't even have a wrench supposedly to open a paint shut fire hydrant. Where did the $2 million that John Horn bragged he got as soon as he came in here go? They go to the fire truck that burned up. And it seems to be a big effort of stopping our voice from having a say-so in these data centers. So the community shows up on May 27th. Robert Island sneaks out the front door. I mean, funny, they got out of there quick. There was no real journalist that asked him any questions. Maybe it makes sense, did you know what they say about us, right? Maybe it makes sense, Jackson. You know, look at our page, we left it up. We don't take things down. And we were bothered, but the whole thing is up live. And we saw who was bothered as we started getting pushed around inside City Hall. We tried to go inside. JSU. Every week. Yeah. Yes. That's the funny thing. At City Hall, Fire Marshal Elliott blocks the door. Folks get physical with us. And JSU, a woman runs up and puts her breast on camera. He showed it and said, stop talking about the shit around Thomas. That's my sister. Trying to grab my hand and pull me in for one of them okey doke moves. This is JSU, and she looked like she was supposed to be at JSU. I guess that John Horn and team thought that's what their headmen were. But for some reason, we didn't have good people at JSU, too. It's an HBCU. Everybody's not for that garbage. They just didn't know a lot of them. They just didn't know. But this is what you did. So you lined it up and tried to trick us every step of the way. And I'm going to say that right here. Let's talk about the few steps in your page. You can listen to this, go to work, cook dinner. When you have time later, you can go to our page, and all the proof is on Make It Make Sense, Jackson, right? So first, you call for a moratorium. We get the community together. Not we, just us two. You, we, a community, we all get together. We come out in strength and say we don't want it. Robert Island sees this. He's representing sexism. Robert Island also one of John Horn's buddies. You see how this is starting to shape out? He talked about kids and Crudup and all the folks that were there. They could have done something. But it's not just them. Solid Gold was signed SB 2001 along with John. All of the bad actors in Jackson are surrounding, are starting to run together. They're starting to run together. We're starting to see it. When Gabriel Craven feels comfortable, the nerve of him, the nerve of him to feel comfortable reaching through black networks and saying, man, somebody asked him because he couldn't say, tell him, you got that type of power. Not amongst the real black folks in the city. Not amongst the rest of us. That's where we go. Not amongst the rest of us. You ain't got that power to ask them to do nothing. So you go to other interests and beg them, can you please ask them to be quiet? Is my money long enough? I would smack him with that dollar if he came directly to me with that. I've given there's nobody alive us that. So that's that. So they can try to quiet us down. That doesn't work. This is before that. When she opposed the moratorium. She opposed the moratorium immediately. Sexton tried to rush in the court and set up their data center on Forest Avenue. Immediately. Why didn't you pull that moratorium before we said no, we're not going to hush up about it? You can pretend it's not making sense, Jackson, in our community. But we can hit 40,000 and all of, at least 10,000 of them are strong people that are ready and waiting at all times. Not just, I'll take the other 30,000 just interested in a good story. You got 10,000 that want some change right here. So now you have a different type of movement. So we show up, we tell them no. Robert Sexton was also on John Horn's team. He was on his housing task team before he recused himself and said, I can't help the people at Forest Avenue who were getting kicked out, mind you. This is Robert Island. The people were getting kicked out because the landlord didn't pay the bill. And Robert Island said that's a conflict of interest. There's you, Tougaloo, Alcorn State, Valley State. Where's our political side? Where's our historians watching this happen so you can write about it later? Even if you don't want to say anything, are you documenting what's happening? What could potentially be? Do you teach them about these schools, all four schools I just mentioned? And the students I know, I see all of them, we look at them. Do they teach you all about gentrification, slumlords, the way the system was set up? So why aren't they able to say red flag? Why would Rhode Island say it's a conflict of interest to help black folks in the city? Well, John, first off, why did you bring them on your housing tax team? Oh, were you trying to get this sex and bill set up? That's all we left to assume. Because John Wong worked over the chair of the Housing and Urban Development Task Force for years and sat on the PER review committee. They oversaw slumlords. They oversaw Mississippi Housing Corporation, Sean Spivey, who gave all the money to the slumlords. Some of those same slumlords, like Chip Triplett, with parks companies, who gave campaign money to John Horn. Make it make sense. Slumlords give campaign money to John Horn as a senator. Then as a mayor, doesn't do nothing. As they sit up there and make their residents leave because of nothing that they did. Don't put any money towards any department. We know why they're not doing anything. Chip Triplett. Ask him why they're not doing anything done to them. I mean, if he can give money to John Horn, if he can work for parks companies, if parks companies had any success with apartment complexes throughout Mississippi when John was a senator, now they're having success here and John is a mayor. These are great relationships. Ask Gabriel Pringle. John's a great friend to have if you're not black. Hey, I didn't say that. He said, I'm out here after a few months. Negro's not giving me nothing. He didn't tell me Pringle was going to be. Told him he met that day. He told me he played tennis and Pringle teach him how to play. I didn't know Pringle was running anyway. Pringle getting it all, man. He didn't have ball boy with his hat on backwards like this. Not right wrong. He right here. But he didn't get the hotels built up. He's got to be getting them hotels built up because it's too many of his stores getting sold to Gabriel Pringle's family. It's too many Gabriel stores that, where's the saying because it was president. Oh, I'm sorry. He's another one of John's buddies. I wish he would keep walking through Jackson. Talking about, you know what this brother said to me at the grocery store, brother, I love you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I don't say her name, but it was an older brother. It was a young sister. I know she's not watching. But she was watching, and the brother was like, John Horn is a good man. I want to believe it. He said the last part out loud, he's trying to stop himself. And I said, I know you want to believe it, sir. I know you want to believe it. God takes care of some babies and fools, so maybe he's a fool. And maybe that's why the man's living to a long age. And I'm saying that with the most decency and respect I can possibly say. That at a certain point, if a young man is going to hold his gun and shoot it across the street with bullets flying everywhere, the first thing you all want to say is who raised him. We got to keep playing at this hit of who raised John. But not to skip over the fire department. Your thought this was done. But let's talk about how much they don't want us to come in. So look at the city council meeting. A lot of people, let me tell you something. It takes a lot on this young man and I part to put ourselves out there to just talk to you on live. I don't think anyone likes would love the way I look on live. I certainly don't, right? But it takes a lot, right? It's much different talking on the radio and getting information. I'm very comfortable doing that, right? But I do those things because too many things get caught in real time in Jackson. And so if I have to go through the discomfort of looking at myself again and watching how I look when I'm going through these things, if no one else is going to do it, then I'm going to continue to do it. He's going to continue to do it. You're going to continue to do it. In the moment someone steps up in my own heart, let me say, watch what happens. I'll get some good rest, just like you will, just like he will, just like all of those individual people fighting on. But we go into City Hall, as soon as we come in, there's a problem that's being allowed to run on us as anyone in the hallway, it seems. But other people start walking into the room. When we try to walk into the room, immediately it's a stop. And this is important because if 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people look at your news story as a way of understanding what happened there, because WMPR doesn't want to run the full story, that's a problem for you not to be allowed in with your audience on there. I understand, Elliot. What is he, the fire marshal? Someone said it's people. I'm looking at that. I understand, I understand. Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. They said other things. The folks they do know him from the city said, I think he needs some chocolate milk. But right? So when you put your hands on one of us, you know you roll us or something. First off, we're not that sensitive. Please understand. The biggest thing about that, I'm going to keep saying, and you saw on our show, Fox called into the show, and these news people called in, and you can report the story. They don't hop on our story, and then we report our story and call us and just put some comments on our own story. Why are we commenting on our story? Tell me what type of sense that makes. They called into a radio show. Do you have any comment on what happened with the fire? Nigga, do you know we ran the story? What are you talking about? We ain't got no comment on our story. Hey, come here. Do you want nights? Because you got some nights on. They're mine. It's already our story, dummy. And I'm not calling it a dummy. I'm just saying it's a, you know, George, was in my heart, Ellen Newton, dummy thing. But yeah, so you saw them jump on, and two stations calling, if I believe, and try to jump on air with us. Because for some reason they find it too hard to contact us and just go to all the places we are. And don't be mistaken, we know what y'all trying to do. What are y'all trying to turn? Y'all found a way to finally get some credit. Criticism off of the fire department. Y'all use us the scapegoat, right? I mean, with the young man saw about I don't think they're bright enough to do that. If they do, that's a plus. Give me a opponent that thinks he's better. I love that. But I think that you're right on to something. What the young man's talking about, you see folks that just are getting giddy because they see a portion of the city under duress. A city that's 83% black, a city with a black mayor, a city with 5 black city council people. They want to say, look, that's evidence of black people not being believed. So you have folks that do that on low, even to jump on our page and give us information. I'll always take your information. I'm a little bit shaky like that in a good way. For my people, I do some strange with some change. This song reference. We're going to hold it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You can jump on, we're going to take it from me. To tell something good. We understand white supremacy, whether it's masked or not. I understand that. So if you used to push out articles about Jackson full of thugs and gangsters, some Jackson is not full of thugs and gangsters. If you used to repost articles about how bad Jackson is every day and help create this persona of how bad, because what that was doing to intelligent folks like us, and if you want our platform to be 1,000 year old, we'll lose you, no problem. We're good with it. I promise, right? And we only got 2,000, 3,000 followers. We're good. That's not even what we came for. But if you are one of these people that help paint a picture of how bad this coat was, just so you could have people come and buy it on the low, man, you must be crazy if you think we're in alliance with you. So if you were before talking about Jackson Fire Department, you were part of the fire department. If you were part of the fire department, and while you were in the city, you continue to post bad stuff about the city. Listen, I worked for Verizon, I would have got fired. I would have got fired. No, well, I can't be. It's my right. I would have got fired. Let me be a Verizon. I'm like, hey, man, Comcast is looking good. Hello. What do you mean? I'm gone. Not even a question. Not even a question. You work for one of the essential employees of the city. You don't talk. What did I say? Why are white folks coming to Jackson and don't do the same thing they do in Madison and Madison? What is that thing? It's the ambulance, the fire department, they're all together. What's that called? Not in Madison, but a lot of black communities. You see a lot of the black police. You see this thin blue line where it covers the ambulance people. Oh, we come together like on time with the police and the fire department. Okay, well, it's something where they all come together in solidarity. Why didn't that happen in the black community? Because for you to be a police officer, a firefighter, an ambulance driver, and to repost anything bad about the city that's happening, what is your purpose? If you're not coming now for something good just being done, you're hurting who you're working for. And see, some people are too ignorant to explain that to you. I don't know that. What they did that? Sit down and they cry to me. Oh, I have the right. Sit down. You're hurting. Did you verify that article to its entirety? Did you make sure that article had nothing that wasn't accurate? So you see now when we do our own article, we see WMPR often ran things that couldn't have been accurate. If they were willing to ignore that, they had. They said there was no violence and just adequately explained that in your full interview. Even if you didn't want to replay it because I had an appointment to go to at the same time, you could have wrote what I told you. So WMPT in 2026 is going to ignore that. Come on. That must be crazy. So to get these points, if you think that you can put on your veil of white supremacy, jump on white supremacist shows, podcasts, and then come up under our bed and be like, yeah, we talked about the fire department, we talked about local 1807 racist white folks right over there that started this whole plan, right along with other people that want this state fire department to be taken over from black folks. Don't forget, like local 1807, don't forget where this whole thing started at. You can follow the trail with Rashawn and see why get so mad, but it ain't gonna lead back to a black community. Stop playing with us. We told you that with the data centers when you made them foolish comments. Well, I'm not with you. I'm going to talk about other things, but I'm with you with the data centers. Excuse me. Block the orchard. We're good. If you're not with us when we talk about the quality of our children's life, if you're not with us when we talk about our schools not being shut down, if you're not with us when we say take your hands off our airport and off our water authority, we don't need you with us on Make It Make Sense Jackson platform. Bye-bye. Ain't want you to know how, I promise you. No love lost. You're not used to this. You've got somebody do anything for your views and for your life. We'll do anything for our audience, but our audience is the community. Any of the community wants to work to better everybody. For you, we'll do backflips, but we know what backflips you want. You just want ideas, solutions, how do we get out of this? You're waiting for that petition where we can get 2/3 of every ward signature. And that's enough to put that council person off. If they let this data center, right, we better do that, because why would you put a fire marshal at the door? Why you got Elliot at the door, blocking one door for certain people? You got a capacity of 90 that a former Jackson Fire Department, a former Jackson Fire Chief, both said that room was not over capacity. You know what, if you think about it, this is what they said. There were more firefighters in there when they were fighting for papers. And these are firefighters crowded in the room, so they would know whether that was over capacity or not. But Elliot, the fire marshal, signed it. Looked like that fresh name on it, didn't it? The certificate. Looks like it looked like. They had just whipped it up. Make it make sense is coming. Get a capacity in that won't let them in. Torres tall, call it 1.5 people. No more people. 9 people without. It makes sense. How does capacity thing work? Capacity, man, if there's 90 people, then you gotta have 8 come out, 8 people in. We saw people screaming out. We didn't get invited in. None of the people, we got invited in. And why? Because on May 27th, go look at what now you all I pretend you to see what's coming. Go look on May 27th and see what the newspaper had on 7 May 28th. You had white, black, Asian, all people that live in Jackson down there in the planning center. We don't want data centers. No. All parts of Bondman, Haven, Midtown, it was everywhere. Right? Midtown was at the one of the businesses. They had a lot of businesses. You had all of the places. They weren't ready for that. Oh, this is what Robert Iverson from Sexton. Lashia, call it off. Let's wait till next week. No, they don't show up. And someone in the planning department, maybe it was in red. They keep working with Chief Fire Marshal Elliott. They was on the side of the village chuckling after they kept us out open like the Smurf and the Gargamel. How they didn't get in here this time. And what did that newspaper headline look like after they had that meeting? What did that newspaper headline look like, if you remember? The first meeting, all you saw was people all through it. I'm not wrong with you. All you saw was people all in the meeting saying, we don't want this, right? The second meeting, WMPR, WLBT, they all stood inside the city council chambers. Fire Marshal Elliott made sure that the majority of the residents were outside of that room, and those TV stations never turned their camera around. So their investors, the state, wants these data centers, to take how you want data centers today. They don't see the same resistance they saw on May 27th. That was their problem, Jackson. And work with me if you can see. We got two more things we got to work with me on this. You got to understand why they didn't want us in that room. Because on May 27th, you had Natalie Speaks who was in there, bring a lot of attention there. You saw that these are just facts. You saw Tina Clay engage her heavily. Let me work that out. Tell you why. And this is no spite against anyone. Because Natalie was reaching the people. She is reaching the people. They're looking at what she has to say for things that matter. She brought HB 2001 up. Oh, she's doing too much talking. We got to get somebody in trouble. And that's when she started talking about the helpers, because Tina was presenting herself as a helper. Natalie was helping, and it's helping amazingly by herself, because she is giving that. Nobody's buying me, paying me, or has any other. I'm just going to give you the truth. Tina, Natalie, we got to do this. We just talking about what we saw. We were at the meeting at first start. Told me this. We got it on video. Everything we said, we went live. There's no collaborations with anyone out there. And as a matter of fact, I make a point to not speak to people before I speak. So I'm saying it. The young man saying it. We're saying that. So you think it's a coincidence that Tina Clay wants to engage Natalie Speaks heavily, because Natalie was speaking so much real stuff about what the data centers are going to do. So much heavy. Now we got to get her voice, just like they tried to do Dr. King's March. You got to control that. Okay? And you try to us, Tina. Let's just keep it steady. You came on Make It Make Sense, Jackson. And I don't know that Tina knows what you think you was authoritarian voters. I don't know that. I don't accuse them. We don't know. We just talk about what you did. You came on Make It Make Sense, Jackson. And you said moratorium would have stopped all of this. It still can be put up there, right? So why do we think that's off the table? If you say that, if a council person tells you a choice that can still be done right now by them can stop everything. And she said it would stop the rezoning. Well, Tina, why are you doing that? And we come and talk about it. And Tina says, we're not discussing moratoriums. They don't even care enough. Now, I understand that we tell you, I don't need a moratorium. I don't want to play up. They don't even care to tell you, I don't consider Jackson people. Jackson, I don't want a moratorium. I mean, that's right. For people that don't necessarily watch news or some people have English social skills. They got to be walking around, at some point, you have to find a way to communicate them too. That's right. They don't understand the kind of stuff y'all be saying. And we got to close out here. We appreciate our platform. But to say that to the young man's point, to call free rapid meetings, and this is why I talk about that in political science departments at Jackson State University, at Tougaloo University, at Valley State University, and at Alcorn University are not the ones that are the civil rights struggle has always been backed, facilitated, fought from the standpoint of HBCUs. Nothing is different now, except the leadership at some of these places, okay? But the body of the students are still the same power and vigor that's there. We've got to find out why nobody with these skill sets, that's not our skill set. I have a GED, yes, I worked towards a higher education, and yes, this young man came off with a higher education, but neither of us are specialists in those areas. These areas you all should be stepping forward and saying, why are they suppressing the people's voice? They call 3 rapid meetings, so I'll give it to you. So JSU, Alcorn, I see all students on here, your alumni, they'll forward it to you. You can't say you didn't know. Your political department's very active. We're going to close out. You have them. They have 3 rapid meetings that not one Jacksonian really understands. If they're planning on a zoning meeting, they just think it's a meeting that JSU called. Someone didn't even know the city when he called, didn't even know it said on there. The other meeting, you gave them the wrong date. This is disgusting. It said on the planning door, the meeting's on the 24th, and then they called it on the 22nd. And then the fire department then blocked half, if not 75% of the community from entering the hearing. Where Brian Mazzell said, hey kids, we will end this. Hey kids, you need to use the bathroom? This is the last stop. And in that meeting, what we're saying, if you weren't there, was he said, if you have any questions as a community, this is it. We didn't understand what we did. Folks didn't understand what we were saying. That's why we call him Brian. What type of games are being played? How's it going down, Mazzell? Because the reason he told you better ask a question is because they then put it in the news, and the next day, the city council has held its final meeting. You've been hoodwinked. You've been bamboozled. It just happened in front of you. You just, Jackson, 100,000 of you, you've just been given 3 mandatory planning meetings by their standards, even though it hasn't happened. And now they can let those data centers in. And all they talk about now is regulations, fines. Jackson, Mississippi, 6 data centers are coming. Your city council is allowed it. And what they're telling you is, we're going to make sure they pay a fine when they screw you over. You can't get more than $500,000 yourself. So you just want to take that face burn or your child passing or your mother passing. But we'll make sure they pay $10,000 every time they loud every day. And are you going to take that? So as we plan this shit, you see your people fold across, you know who your council person is. LaShia Brown Thomas has had far too much political peace in Jackson, Mississippi. Her mailbox is far too empty. There's far too many people that have her cell phone number that not filled in up time after time, took chances. I know John Horn doesn't answer anyone anymore. That's the people telling us that. But you better pressure Hartley and LaShia. We got Vincent. Which side you going to be on today? Because right now has said no to take moratorium. So he's voting the right way right now. We don't know how long it's going to last. Last time, his brother got pushed out, and he said, I'm taking my ball and going home. Vincent got pushed out, and then he didn't want to play with the citizens anymore. They're being violent. We don't need to stop the incentives. Give my big brother back his job. But we ain't like the fact he got pushed out. But don't stop having the rest of us because of that, Brian. What type of games is being played? How's it going down, Gazelle? So reach out to your 2 councilmen.
the data centers coming down to Jackson, Mississippi. We had to Tina Clay and Ryan because I want to get stable in the moratorium. One of them can bring that vote back up. We burn it over long, 2 sauce to step up. And we put shit up, aka Carolyn Saint and Till, to stop calling young black men violent and to step up and reverse what she initiated. Put the moratorium back on the table. Tina Clay and Ryan have said it. They don't put it forward because they did it before. And they switch up to have to do it in front of you. We put it all on the table. Tina Clay and Ryan was out putting it all on the table. Moratorium being devastating. And one of them needs to talk and as a community to decide what they put it back on the table of the moratorium. And then Vernon starts feeling something. Listen, Stokes better show up and go to basic Texas. We have 5 black city councilmen. So all it is for Tina over Brian, for taxi gangs being played out and down to reintroduce the ordinance moratorium for 180 days. And then we need all of our black council people to vote for. I have no faith in Ward 7. Kevin Parkinson was preceded by Virgie Lindsay, was preceded by Margaret Barrett Simon, all of whom, the previous to have done unmeasurable damage to black autonomy in Jackson, Mississippi. And Kevin is doing the same thing. So pressure your council person, pressure your council person, pressure your council person. Shout out to We Believe Digital for my calls, and myself talking to while I'll continue to make it make sense, Jackson. We love you well. Let me tell you something, brother. We on some of your destinations have it the squad. But,
My mama lied. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.